Okay, so this is the next segment in part 2. I'm going to show you the different elements that go into your book. And you're going to set up your template with all of the elements, and then later on, if you decide you don't want them, you can just delete them. But it's handy to have them there, number one, so you don't forget to put them in, and number two, so that you can delete them if you want. There's a couple of elements like the thank you page that can go either in the front or the back, but we'll go over that in a second. So let's see, let's go back to share. All right, so we've set up our style sheets. This, as you can see here on the right in my little pile of pages here, we're on the first page of the document. You don't want anything on that page, nothing. So we're going to take that off. Wait a second, let's copy and paste it here. Nah, we don't need to do that. We're just going to take this thing off here. This is your first blank page. When you open up your book, this is the page that is behind your cover, okay? And then this page, the second page, is the next page and the next page inside your book, so that you've got 1, 2, 3 blank pages. Now the problem with Amazon is that they won't allow you to have 3 blank pages. They'll only allow you to have 2. So what I like to do is on this second page here, I like to put a placeholder illustration of some sort. Let's just say, let's see here. Let's say that I choose just a simple image like this one here. Object. Okay, so that's my placeholder. And that keeps that page from Amazon kicking it out and sending me a note saying you have to put something on this page, or no, you can't have that many blank pages. Amazon can be pretty ornery when it comes to that. Okay, the next page is going to be your copyright page. Now in InDesign we have these inner designations for margins. I don't usually like to see them, but in this case they're handy. So I'm going to take my text tool and start writing on the copyright page. So this is your title, your subtitle, copyright, your name, 2019. I'll go through this in a second here. ISBN. Let's see now, permissions. Accreditations? Here we go. And marketing. Okay. Your title page, let's call it bold, and let's make it bigger so people can see it. So this is 16 points at 15 points leading. And your subtitle should also be bold so people can see it, but it doesn't need to have to be big. Your title and your subtitle need to be precise, because when you enter your information on KDP, it has to be exactly written out when you fill out the fields. You can't screw around and have one subtitle here on the copyright page and another subtitle on your book cover. They have to be exactly the same. And it's the same thing for the Library of Congress. If you're going to submit your book to the Library of Congress, they have to be exactly the same. Now, it sounds silly that anybody would think that it would be different, but the thing is, when you're settling down on a title, it can change. You know, your title is never final until you've actually published it, and then you can't change it anymore. You know, like one day you'll go, oh, I want my title to be this, and then the next day you think, well, that's not clear enough, I'm going to do this for a title. And you can forget to change it. And there's four places it's going to be. It's going to be on your book cover, it's going to be on your inner book title page, it's going to be on your header, and on your copyright page, and maybe even mentioned throughout the book. So make sure that your book title and your subtitle are all consistent, you know, they're the same. The next thing you're going to write is copyright your name. The convention for copyright is the little circle with a C in it, either or copyright, the word. You can use both or one or the other. So it can be little c in the circle, your name 2019, or both of them, or just the word copyright. You must have the date on there to make it official. Otherwise, nobody will know when you published it, and somebody can come in and copy your book, and you won't be able to prove when you published it. Keep a spreadsheet with the titles and the information on your book. This is pretty important if you're going to be publishing a lot of books. I've got close to 100 books, so I have to keep track of them, and I've got a spreadsheet that shows the title, the subtitle, the ISBN, the page number, all those different elements, so that I can say, yes, I published this book on August 1st, 1999. So if somebody says, well, you plagiarized me, I can go back and say, no, your book was published way after mine, you plagiarized me. Hopefully that won't ever happen to any of us. Now, I like to put all rights reserved internationally. Now, I looked this up because somebody asked me about this. The truth is that across the world, there are no international copyright mandates. We have our own specific copyright setups here in the US, but they don't extend beyond our country. A lot of countries do recognize each other's copyrights, but I like to put this in anyway because it discourages people who are kind of on the edge. They don't really know what they're doing. If somebody's really intent on plagiarizing you or copyrighting what you, no amount of warnings is going to help. Believe me, you know, I've had my designs ripped off and they could care less. So I think that really this is for people who have at least a little bit of integrity, and it'll set up a little bit of a warning. Okay. You set up your ISBN. Now I like to put that in bold, and I like to make it in a non-serif font so that it's really easy to read. Okay, and then you'll have your 9 or 13 number code after that. And you'll get that when you go on to Amazon to publish. I won't go into that here. Now, your permissions are who can use this book? Let's see if I can find that here. Here we go. This is what I put in all of my books. Well, all of my books where I don't like somebody to copy me. And then I make it into 10 points, and then I justify both sides. I want it to be hard to read. That sounds counterintuitive, but it means that people aren't going to read it carefully, and that means that I can put things in there that, let's see, make that 13. Put things in there that are important to me, but most people don't even pay attention to it. 12, 11. Oops. What's going on here? There we go. Okay, now for the last line, most of this is pretty normal for books, but this last line here, thank you for respecting copyrights of this author and others across the world. I like to add that because it makes people remember that authors are real. You know, we're vulnerable human beings and not some fantasy being in the sky who's, you know, this rich, famous, impervious to harm person, you know, so add that too, because it makes you look more human. Why doesn't that stay the way I want it to be? I want that to be. I think Mercury must still be in retrograde because things aren't working the way I want them to be. So accreditations are people who've helped you, or places where you've gotten things. You know, for instance, I would say credit to photographer so-and-so for the beautiful photo on this cover. Credit to me for cover design, book design, and publishing. And production and publishing. I like to add that because it makes it real for people. You want things to be real. Now I have the word marketing here. The really neat thing about publishing on KDP is that when you have your book on Amazon, you have the look inside feature. And this allows people to pick up your book and look inside and see what's in there. When they look on your copyright page, you can have your website. And you can have go here for a free ebook on X subject. And you have that ebook set up so that when they register for it, they're on your mailing list. And so now you've got somebody who's on your mailing list and you can market to them, even if they haven't read the book. That's what's so cool about the look inside feature. You know, if I go in and I look at a book and I'm not really interested in buying it, but there's one part of it that I'm interested in, or maybe I'm interested in their offer, I can sign up for it and get the free ebook and not have even read the book. So it's really neat to have that marketing aspect there. Okay, so we've done the copyright page, and now we want to go to the inner title page. The title page is going to be set up so that it is your title, subtitle, author, name. I will go into creating your book cover next week, but for now, let's just do it this way. Title, subtitle, and author name. And we'll make title much bigger. let's call it 48, let's call it 72. And this one we will make 48. Select them all, center justify, and there you are, you're all set. Of course you can change the fonts and spacing and putting images and everything like that in here. This is totally flexible. That's why you're creating your templates, so that you can be flexible. If you have an image on your inner title page, make sure it's in black and white because you're not going to be publishing color. Okay, so now, let's see now. The next page is going to be your dedication page. I dedicate this page to whoever it is. And you're going to make that like that and like that in the center. And then you're going to copy it, because the next page, oh wait, let's see where it is on the page. Let's make it 2 inches down from the top. That way we can make it even all across the board. 2 inches, and then we're going to put your thank you page. You know, thank you to my husband for putting up with me for all these hours that I've spent writing my book. Thank you to my kids for taking up all my time and making it so I publish my book 2 years later than it should have. Thank you to my editor. Thank you to my publisher, whoever. Some people have really long lists of people to thank. You know, there's this author, Diana Gabaldon. She's the one who wrote all the books that really popular show Outlander is based on. And her her thank you sections are literally pages long, and they're funny. She's got such a great sense of humor. I highly recommend that you go look at them, because, you know, she'll say something like, and this is somebody I learned how to do this particular sex scene from, and it made me laugh all the way through, or, you know, she's really funny. Now, your thank you page can go in the front of the book like this, or it can go in the back of the book, depending on what you want. Now, I am setting this up to be a nonfiction book. If this was a fiction book, the next would be a prologue, for instance, or it might be a preface, or some other kind of something that goes before the actual story. Those do not belong in a nonfiction book. So from this page on, we're going to, let's see, let's put another set of blank pages in here. Okay. Now we're going to create your table of contents. I would say this is a pretty critical page. Table of contents. Now, what I like to do is make 2 text boxes. One that starts at about 1.5 inches in, and then make my list of chapters. Left justified, not bolded, because a whole page full of bolded names is really hard to read. Chapters, chapter styles, chapter numbers, whatever the names of your chapters are. So let's just, we'll have a bunch of them here. And then I like to make the leading farther apart so they're really easy to read. Then I will copy this page. I put my thumb on Command Option, which makes a copy of this, and then I slide it over here, and then I will select all, and I will write 1, 2, 4, 7, 9, 11. You know, I'm pretending on making pages here. And then I slide this down to meet the chapters. And then on, I slide this over here so it's only this wide. And then I will take these, whoops, and match these. I'm not going to take a lot of time to do that, but you can see how to do it. And then I make them come over there. There we go. Okay, so you've set up your table of contents. When you set up your book for Kindle, you will be doing it in either Microsoft Word or OpenOffice or some type of program like that. There are instructions on Amazon, KDP Amazon, where it tells you how to create your headings as live links so that when people read your Kindle book, they can click on a chapter and it'll go right to that chapter. You can't do that in a print book, obviously. So you don't have to worry about that here in this particular part. Okay, so then the next page is going to be your first page in your chapters. You will see here that the headers and the footers appear now. I like to go back to let's see, the dedication page and go up to pages, numbering and section options, start page at 1, start at chapter numbering at 1, and use this old-fashioned style so that this page, excuse me, so that your table of contents will show up as page 5. Maybe it should be changed as page 1. I don't know. I like to make it these pages come first. This page here, you can see that the numbering goes on with that same style. So what you want to do is you want to change that to start page 1 with this style. So you can see where it goes, the old-fashioned style to page 1. Okay, so that'll set it up in your book so that you have the proper pages. And then from then on, you can start plopping in your text. And you can see how it just flows on. I'm just copying and pasting over and over and over again, just to show you how the pages flow. Okay, so you got all these pages with all your text in it. Now this is going to be unformatted. Let's go to the end here and unformat this. And now I'm going to go to the front and put my finger on Shift and copy the whole thing. And I'm going to unformat it. So now I can change that whole thing into a completely different font if I want. I can go up here and I can say, let's choose Helvetica Light and blank. I've changed every single page. Or I can change the whole thing back again by highlighting it and choosing my conventional text body choice here. You can see how having the style sheet really saves you a lot of time. Now, when you plop in your manuscript, you're going to be able to go through page by page and just change. The first thing you're going to do is change the entire body to the text body so that it's all the same as what's going to be in the body of the text. Then you're going to go in chapter by chapter and change the chapter heading, the chapter number, the headings and the subheadings, each one, because that way you'll get consistent looking chapters. It's so easy to do. It's just fantastic. I forgot the introduction. So after your table of contents, let's put a pair of pages there. We'll come here and find this and put in your introduction. And you could also put in a foreword if you want, from somebody who has some kind of credibility, like Gary Craig, if he wrote a foreword for my EFT book, and that's F-O-R-E-W-O-R-D, not forward, moving forward. So let's do that right now. Let's just put in a come on, why doesn't it slide up? Oh well, I'll copy and paste it. And this one should go up here at 1 inch. Forward. And you can say forward by some kind of expert or friend or whatever. And then they will write blah, 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 blah. Okay. So in your table of contents, you've got your first one should be forward. And then you've got introduction. And then chapter 1 and so on. Do not just write chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, because that's really boring. If you've got different chapters on how to help somebody, for instance, on how to write a speech or something like that, instead of writing chapter 1, you would write where to start when you write your speech. And then the next chapter might be how to avoid hurting your voice. And the next chapter might be how to keep your audience engaged. That way, when somebody looks at your book on the inside feature on Amazon, they can go, oh yeah, I really need to learn how to not hurt my voice because I always end up doing that. It's a whole lot more compelling than chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. I mean, who needs it? Who can tell anything? Who remembers what chapter something is in? Oh gosh, that item that I wanted to read again, that's in chapter 10 on paragraph 3. Nobody does that, right? You want to have a chapter title that is compelling and that brings people back to the ability to go back to that chapter and review it. Okay? Now, after your chapters, we'll go number 1, appendix. You know, if you've got stuff that you need to tell people that's outside of the chapter content, you're going to have to put it in the back. And then if you're somebody who is from out of the country or uses weird names or something like that, or that you're in a particular industry and you use jargon, you're going to want a glossary. And then let's say that you want to be able to cross-reference things in your books, you know, like if you've got a recipe book or a health book or something like that, you know, on page 44, you know, here's recipe for vichyssoise or something. So then you would put your index. And then in the back, after that, you want your about the author page, because you want people to read about you and your expertise and other links of where people can find your book. And then after that, here's another opportunity for marketing. More books by this author. And you would be able to put your website links, your Amazon links, whatever, you know, your bookstores, make it relevant, make it so that 10 years from now, when somebody picks it up, people will still be able to find you. You know, a lot of times websites go out of style or they get removed. Make sure that you at least put your Amazon Author Central link, even if you have to write it all the way out. Your Author Central link is go to authorcentral.amazon.com and create an author page. This is a free website page they give you in order to have you put your books up there and say, hey, this is my book. And they allow you to connect to your blog on there as well. You get a whole description about you and who you are and about your books. And it'll list all of your books across the top of the page or going down the page. It's fantastic. You can't beat it, because when somebody sees your book on the book page, you know, here's your book on the sales page, your name underneath the title there is going to be linked to your author page. So they'll go, oh, well, I've read this book. I wonder if she's got any others. So they click on your name and it takes them right to your author page. And there's 3 more books on the same subject. Oh, this is really cool. Here's, oh, this one fits for me perfectly. Blank, you've made a sale. So make sure that you set up your author page and then go to books that you like on Amazon and click on author pages and see how they've set them up, how they've written their descriptions, how they've ordered their books, you know, what order they're in, stuff like that, so that you can do your best shot at setting up your author page. Okay, now what I like to do is put an end page on, and this is just where I say thank you. End page. You know, I say thanks for reading this book. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've gotten a lot out of it. Please feel free to contact me if you've got any questions. And here's another chance to put my website on there. So there's your end page. Then the same thing that I told you about in the beginning of the book, you can only have a couple of end pages, blank pages at the end of your book. So here we are. We've got the end page on this page here. I'm going to put another image, which will be a place-saving image. Let's see, let's use this one here. And we will fit it to the box. Object, fitting, fit content to frame. And she's just a little, let's stretch her out a bit here. Okay, so that's my placeholder image. If I wanted to put a photograph on here that had a bleed, let's do that right here. I'm going to create a box, and I'm going to take it all the way out to the bleed setting here and stretch it across the page to the gutter. That is what my photograph box would look like. Let's put an image in there just for the kicks. Let's see now. Journals, garden planner, art. Here we go. And then I will shrink that image down. Oh, who cares? We just leave it like that. I kind of like that. So that's what you need to do. And you can see how your image falls outside of the page range. If you don't want that to happen, you can adjust your photographs so that this area that goes outside of the page range is just simply a flat color, just that one little tiny bit, so that when they trim the page, your photograph doesn't get cut off. I hope that makes sense to you. Okay, and then you've got 2 blank pages. Now, something you need to know is that you need to end up on an even number. Like you can't end up on page 23 here. You need to end up on an even number because it'll be on the left-hand side, because it's the back of this page here. You know, the page just can't have a front without a back. So you have to end up on this even number. Most times when you are printing, let's say with a traditional publisher, your page number has to be divisible by 4 because they make the page bundles in increments of 4. So if this was page 22, I would have to add 2 pages, okay? Let's see. Oh, I believe that the minimum page number you can have on KDP is 22. I could be wrong about that, but you got to keep in mind that if you're going to write even a 20-page document, that's going to be more like a pamphlet, and it's going to be stapled rather than have a binding. It's going to look pretty unprofessional if you want it to look like a professional book. 22 pages is actually only 11 sheets of paper. Now you've got how many pages here? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17, 18. So that would be 9 more pages. So you've got about 20 pages here of content, you know, whether it's blank pages or written on pages. That's still a very few number of pages. You know, you put that together between your fingers and it's hardly anything. So if you want a substantial book, I would suggest that you write at least 100 pages, 100 to 150 pages. Here, I can't show you because I'm in share. Let me take us out of share. If you want a book that is substantial, this page here is 65 pages, and there I chose thick paper. So that means there's only about 30 some odd pages here. This book is 365 pages. So if you wanted 150 pages, it would be this thick. That's a good sized book. 125 pages would be about like this. That's still a good sized book. Okay. Okay, so we've done your template. You put all the elements in. You can change them. You can play with them. You can insert text. You can take things out. When you save your, when you go to use your template, the first thing you're going to do is create a copy of it and save your original template, close it, put it back to where it is in its folder. Create a copy, name it your title and the date. This is so critical. I can't tell you how many number of books that I've screwed up because I got the wrong version on the wrong date. So my naming convention is book title dash date. And I write the date. For instance, today is November 21st, 2019. So I would write 11/19/19. Very simple. You can look at it and know exactly what the date is. Now, if you're in New Zealand or Australia, you reverse the date and the day. I know you do that. So whatever your convention is, but you've got to put your date on there, because there's always going to be a tweak. Always. Even after you've published, you can always go back in and tweak the book and republish it. Amazon makes it so easy. So if you've got something incorrect or a typo or a photo that's wrong or anything that you want to tweak, when you do that, you're going to resave it to that day's date and then save that to your files. Do not save it as your title dash final, because tomorrow, after you've tweaked it, it's also going to be a final, and then you won't be able to figure out, well, which one did I do first? So when you save your template, save it as the name of the book, and if it's a long name, just use part of the name. For instance, I'm creating a book for this course, and it's going to be called Build Your Book. I don't want to put Build Your Book on every title, so I just use BYB-date. So it's title-date when you save it to your new folder. That way you can tweak it and move things around, put your copy in, all this stuff, and you'll know which version is at the is the one that you want to use today. So, and if you tweak it, you go in and you save it immediately to today's date. Don't tweak it and then save it, oops, darn, yesterday's date, because maybe what you did was wrong and you want to go back to yesterday's version. So save it as today's version and then make your tweaks. All right. So that's it for today for creating your template. I hope you've enjoyed this and gotten a lot out of it. And I'll see you on the next segment. Bye for now.